Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about the American dream in the 50s. To start us off, let's hear the joke of the day. Why did Cinderella get kicked off the basketball team? Because she ran away from the ball. That won't work. All right. Thank you, girls, for that joke. Now, on to the key concepts for the day. What do people think the American dream should be, and why did the baby boom occur? Key vocab is next, conglomerates, franchise, consumerism, baby boom, Interstate Highway Act, and planned obsolescence. Make sure you take a look at those before moving on to the rest of the video. After World War II, businesses in the United States found ways to make more money. Americans were focused on living the American dream and having a life that prospers. Employees are starting to make more money and have higher paying jobs. One way that companies are making more money is by becoming a corporation with smaller companies called conglomerates. For example, the International Telephone and Telegraph Company, otherwise known as ITT, bought insurance, had car rentals, and other companies to keep their company diverse to protect their original business. In order to stay open, some businesses became franchises, which are companies that offer similar products in many locations. For example, McDonald's franchise introduced itself during this time and they spread their business around the globe. Not only are businesses making money, but people are too. During this time, employees have high paid and secure jobs. In order for an employee to get one of these jobs, they conduct interviews and have personality tests to see if they fit the position. Most employees worked in cities, but for people who live outside of the cities, they had to use cars. Cars are very popular at this time, and gas prices were very low. Gas prices were low because after World War II, the United States was left with a big supply of petroleum. Cars and gas makes getting into the city easier for people who live out in the suburbs. Families are focused on living the American dream. The American dream is this idea of having a single family house, a safe and healthy environment for children, and good schools. When soldiers returned to the United States from World War II, we start to see the population skyrocket. This sudden increase in population is known as the baby boom. There are many factors that contributed to this event. The reunion of husbands and wives after the war decreased the U.S. decreased the age of getting married. There's a desire for larger families, and people had confidence that the economy would continue to grow. Now that children are being born more often, doctors were finding had new opportunities to make medical advances, like curing diseases and discovering new drugs. With these medical breakthroughs, we were able to develop cures for typhoid fever. A doctor who helps a lot with these breakthroughs is Dr. Jonas Salk, who develops a vaccine for a common children's disease, polio. Not only are doctors taking a stand in society, but women are too. Women are sick of being the usual stay-at-home mom. They start speaking out to the public. They start speaking out to the public and expressing their opinion. One person who speaks out is Carol Freeman, who spoke about the boring and isolated role that women have in society. Another person who does this as well is Betty Friedan, who writes a groundbreaking book called The Feminine Mystique. Women are starting to work outside of the home more often and take on roles like teaching and nursing. The only problem is that they're getting paid less than men and had less fields to work in. As the economy keeps improving, we start to see machines take a more important role in society, such as washing machines, dryers, and dishwashers. These machines allowed more time for people to relax. On their free time, Americans watched sports in stadiums or on television. They especially loved to read. People read comic books, mysteries, religion, romance, etc. In addition to that, now that gas was inexpensive and cars are an easy access are, are easily accessible to Americans, they need more roads to travel on. President Eisenhower signed the Interstate Highway Act, which authorized the building of a national highway network. These highways made shipping goods in trucks possible. The highway system also unified the nation, connecting one city to another. People visited national parks, mountains, lakes, and even historic sites. The problem with this act was that it declined the use of railroads, and the cars give out a lot of exhaust or smoke that pollutes the air. Also, people end up using the highway so much that it damages the roads. With all these cars and brand new roads, people were able to move out of the crowded city and into the suburbs. That was as long as they had money to do it. So when the people would move, lots of jobs and businesses would go with them. Now, poor people who stayed in the cities were left without jobs, didn't have a lot of prospects for new jobs, and we start to see an imbalance between the middle class and the poor, and also the people who live in the suburbs and those that live in the cities. As businesses and technology begin to grow, we see new products being built like TVs at a very rapid rate, tape recorders, freezers, and that brings us to consumerism. Consumerism is the buying of goods. As people keep buying these appliances, businesses are starting to outsmart the customers. They do out they do so by planned obsolescence, which is when manufacturers of a company plan to design products that wear out quicker instead of lasting for a long time. This is done so people buy more of their product and the business makes more money. Americans are able to buy goods by credit cards, which are first issued in 1950. With the economy booming, people were buying more than saving, confident that the economy would continue to do well. Last thing before I go, with all of these people buying goods and businesses making money, we see lots of advertising come into play. From newspapers to magazines, radio to television, it was everywhere. That's it for today, folks. See you next time.